och varmt välkommen till Change the Game 2022. Idag är det fredag den 16 september och vi kommer fram till det fjärde digitala passet.
Ja.
Ja, och det här är ju ett digitalt pass som är en del av Change the Game-konferensen. Och ni som är med och lyssnar, ni är antingen med oss live här på fredag morgon eller så tittar du på det här i efterhand. Och oavsett så kan du vara med och chatta med oss. Och det gör du i chattfunktionen. Och där kan du ställa dina frågor eller skriva dina reflektioner, dina klokskaper. Och vi svarar på frågorna i efterhand. Ja, vad ska vi göra under det här passet då?
Just det här passet så ska vi ta oss an, eller vi kommer sätta fokus på rörelserika samhällen. Hur ser ett sånt ut? Vad utmärker ett rörelserikt samhälle och hur kan vi ta oss dit? Det är några av de frågorna som vi ska beröra i det här passet.
Ja, och först ut så har vi 2 stycken väldigt långväga gäster. Det är Thomas Jones tillsammans med Nicole Beauregard med deras föredrag om Physical Literacy's Communities. Deras verksamheter innefattar över 26 samhällen i British Columbia. Och de finns med oss via en förinspelad film. Och de presenterar sig lite närmare i den filmen. Så därför så säger jag inte så mycket mer nu än varsågoda Thomas and Nicole.
Good day, everyone. My name is Thomas Jones, and I am very, very pleased to join you today from the west coast of Canada. I'm Director of Community International Engagement with the Sport for Life Society, and I'm very, very pleased to join you at your conference today. I'm going to be also joined today by Nicole Beauregard. Over to you, Nicole.
Hi, good morning, everyone. My name is Nicole Beauregard, and I'm the Sport Development Coordinator with the City of Kamloops, as well as a community mentor with Sport for Life. And so I work with a bunch of different communities, and I'm also a learning facilitator. So I work with our Quality Sport for Communities and Clubs. So I'm a Master Learning Facilitator in 1 and 3 in Canada, as well as I facilitate the Physical Literacy 101, and then through our national coaching program, Fundamental Movement Skills. So that's a bit of my background. I'm joining you today from the traditional territory of the Kamloops to Secwepemc.
Thank you, Nicole. And I'm joining you from the Musqueam, Tsleil-Waututh, and Squamish Nations, First Nations territories here in Vancouver, British Columbia, where it's a bit of a cloudy day, but a beautiful summer season for us. Just a little bit about Sport for Life now. We are a nonprofit based here on the West Coast, and our mission is to improve the quality of sport and to develop physical literacy here in Canada, but also around the world. To date, we've worked with about 40, actually over 40 nations of the world. And recently we've had the pleasure of working with Tom England and the Change the Game team to talk a little bit about a program we've developed called Physical Literacy for Communities, which is our topic today. It's an approach that helps to develop local capacity, develop physical literacy in communities. We've worked with about over 50 communities so far over the last 8 years across Canada. And it really does work. And I'm really pleased to have Nicole join us today because she has a very unique perspective on this and had a number of different roles and relationships here. So Nicole, again, a real pleasure to have you join us today.
Great, thanks so much, Tom. So I work with 3 different communities, which is pretty exciting. And they're all various sizes. So I work with a municipality of about 100,000. I work with a region that has 3 different communities. One community, Salmon Arm, has about 18,000 people. Sicamous has about 2,500, and then Enderby has 3,000. So that region, each of those communities are about 30 minutes from one another. And then the last sort of smaller community I work with is Ashcroft, and they're about 1,500. So it's a really good lens that we'll be able to present to you today through those different size communities, because again, every community is going to be a little bit different. So I'm in the interior of BC. So these communities are in the interior and about 4 to 6 hours from Vancouver. And so just to give you a little bit of geography in relation to sort of where we are today.
Great, thanks, Nicole. In British Columbia, where Nicole and I live, we've worked with about 26 different communities. Nicole has been one of our champions. And again, it's so great to have Nicole talk a bit about this whole physical literacy program. Nicole, could you describe a little bit about the framework itself and how it works?
Yes. So within the physical literacy for communities, there's sort of three phases, like we like to call. So education, training, and sustaining. So that's sort of where each of the projects will work with the tables, work with community within those phases. So now within that structure is the sectors that we work with. So health, recreation, sport, education, and a little bit of media. So we have all of those groups work together. So that's sort of the framework of the physical literacy for communities. And it just brings all the sectors together to work with one another. So when it comes through to Play Kamloops, so we started as a pilot phase. So we started, and our community, we actually, all the partners on the table put money into a pot, and the city of Kamloops held those funds, and then off we went. Again, we were a pilot phase. We didn't start with any grants or funding. We just all worked together. Play Shuswap, so that region with the three communities, they started through their second wave of funding. So they received a grant through, which was adjudicated through Sport for Life, and then coming from the Ministry of Health. That group, the school district holds their funds, and they're sort of in the sustaining phase. And so they've actually now formed as a nonprofit. And then Ashcroft, they've come in around the second, third phase, but they were a bit extended through COVID, and they're just sort of beginning, they're restarting. So they're right from the beginning, and that's a little bit about the framework.
Okay, thanks, Nicole. And those of you watching, it's interesting that we've had a fair bit of support and funding from the health sector. Which is interesting because our title is Sport for Life. You'd think it would be largely a sport-based project, but health is recognizing the importance of movement and activity in terms of preventing illness and disease. So it's something to keep in mind as you consider that in your discussions today at the conference. Nicole, a couple of things. I'd like to know a little bit more about some of the common challenges you've had in the communities and some of the lessons that you've learned as you've gone along the way here.
Yeah, absolutely. So with municipality, so comes with a lot of history, a lot of partners. Sometimes there's egos at the table. So that group, when we actually tried to apply for the first phase of funding, the group was actually denied because two of the organizations within the group applied for separate funding for the grant. Whereas when I flagged it, I'm like, hey guys, we should be actually applying together as a group. We've been doing this table together. Why are we applying separately? And so, hey, turns out they weren't funded. Surprise, surprise. So that was a bit of a lesson for that group. It was a very hard pill for our group to swallow. And basically we kind of had to restart and move forward again. And so in terms of a lesson learned, work together, don't recreate the wheel, share those resources and capacity. So that's specifically around Play Kamloops. And they're a very strong project. Lots of great work coming out of there. But again, a little bit of some stumbling blocks around the funding. Play Shuswap with the three different communities. Two of the communities are a little bit stronger than one of the communities. So within terms of that group, how do you manage that balance between moving forward and stalling and back? So what we sort of suggest in terms of lessons there is to just really set some key areas and focus areas for each of the small communities to come together as one. So set some key milestones and targets for each of the groups, but then overall groups. So that way they're all working together. So that really seemed to work really well. That group is very cohesive, very driven, and they continue to move forward. So they're pretty amazing in a different way. And it's pretty exciting to see that. And they have really heavy support from the school district in those communities, which is really cool. Ashcroft, in terms of them, they've just had a whole bunch of changes and challenges thrown at them. So they had a change in leadership, and they kind of had to restart. So that was kind of the lesson there is like, hey, let's start fresh. Let's re-engage. Let's connect back with the community lead and sort of start again. And that's okay because some groups, 2 steps forward, 10 steps back. So sometimes it's just best to restart and re-engage with partners and then come back to that piece around the education and start with the training and then start with those foundational pieces. I think it's really key in terms of what all three groups have in common, and I think it's a real positive, is that they have some sort of community lead, they have great partners at the table, and there's always some sort of paid person leading that group. So whether it's through a community lead and focus through there, or they've hired separate coordinators. So when in terms of talking about successes, yes, you have a communities and partners at the table, which is very important, but you also kind of need someone to drive the bus. And that's really kind of important with that type of work. And then of course, your key partners is huge, and setting some key milestones. So in terms of what the groups have in common, those are some key pieces within the framework, the phases, and then off they go.
Okay, Nicole, yeah. Really important to remember, as you've said a couple of times here, is that every community is different. And as we move these projects forward, it's a case of meeting the communities really where they're at. Some are more ready and have had more experience with physical literacy. Others don't know much about it at all and really need some education. But so a little bit different approach, and that's why the mentor piece is what Nicole has served in that role a number of times, and probably different each time too, Nicole. But it's such an important piece to walk people through the process, and then they make it their own. Okay, so that's a little bit about the process and some of the challenges. What about some of the outcomes and some of the best practices that have emerged from the communities you've worked with, Nicole?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the really cool things was, Play Shuswap. So one of the first activities they did was a Halloween treat trail. So when the kids get all dressed up for Halloween, they decided to do it through the business core, and then have different types of sidewalk markings linked with a storybook and movement paths on the sidewalks and on the ground, and to get from point A to B and around to the different businesses. So that was really cool. And then now they've actually applied for funding and have some within the project. And now they're looking at permanent sidewalk markings around the community. So that's a really kind of cool piece there. Ashcroft worked with recreation backpacks. So that program is sort of linked in through the school. And there's these backpacks that sort of have a whole bunch of different needs for children to move. So, again, through the summer, through the holidays, and it's focusing around low economic status, if they are having challenges getting families moving. So things like there might be some pool passes, there might be a towel and goggles. So some things that will help children and families get past those barriers. There's, maybe a couple different balls, and there's some movement cards in there. So to skipping rope. So things that you can use at home and continue to have through the summer and to move. So that program was really cool. And they launched that this June as the end of school. So that way these kids are continuing to move through into the summer and then into next year. So it's kind of like a starter kit pack for kids to keep moving. And it's distributed through the school, and then targeting some of those children through the schools and identified through the school that are, again, experiencing a bit of difficulties getting moving. So that's sort of that piece, which is really great. And then Kamloops, Play Kamloops, we've created a women in wellness or a community wellness program focusing in around newcomers, welcoming newcomers to Canada. So in terms of providing resources, so translated resources and materials, we have a website, we have some different photos of activities, we do events, we do programming, and really key piece here is just an opportunity to get women and families moving when they come to Canada. So a way to have some belonging, introduction to a new place and a new community. So if anyone, you put your thinking cap on, if you've ever traveled to a foreign country, that's a bit of a scary process. So this piece is just a real connection, and we do lots of fun, exciting things. So we have a website, and I'm sure we can share. It's kamloops.ca/community wellness. So so those are some of the best practices there.
Fantastic, Nicole. That's terrific. So as you can see, the PL4C framework it provides some structure, it provides some steps, but it is very flexible and very adaptable, as Nicole has talked about, with each community taking a bit of a different approach. It's something we've talked a little bit about to Tom England and the Change the Game team, but I was happy to share with more folks and at the conference and beyond. So on behalf of Nicole, I think that's any last word, Nicole, to say to the team?
Thank you so much. And good luck with your projects.
Absolutely. Best of luck, everybody. I hope the conference goes very well. I hope you've enjoyed this brief outline of physical literacy for communities. Talk to everyone soon. Bye now.
Thank you. Bye.
Tack så hemskt mycket, Thomas och Nicole. Vi tar oss från en kontinent till en annan, närmare bestämt Australien. Och där ska vi få träffa Sarah Noble och hon ska berätta mer om initiativet Active Village. Och Sarah Noble, hon har ett långt CV. Rekreations- och sportstrateg, infrastrukturplanerare, projektledare, scoutledare. Det var bara några av sakerna. Och 2021 då så lanserade Sarah The Active Village Project. Och dess vision är att införa rörelserikedom i planeringen av öppna ytor och samhällen och städer. Så varsågod, Sarah.
Good morning, Umea, Sweden, on this beautiful day in Melbourne, Victoria. I am proud to present to you today the work that we're doing in Wyndham City Council around how we create communities with physical literacy and physical literate environments, how we create active villages across our community to enable people to lead healthy and active lives by motivating them to participate for their life journey. So I'd firstly like to acknowledge the Bunurong and the Wadawurrung people of the Kulin Nations and traditional owners of the land on which Wyndham is currently being built, and recognise the owners past, present and emerging. I'd like to acknowledge the Werribee River, the Yallock, and the significance it has in the Bunurong and Wadawurrung communities and traditions, and their commitment to the sky, the land and the red clay earth on which Wyndham is being built. Wyndham is home to 153 ethnicities, and these new communities are having 11 to 13 babies born a day. So these beautiful new communities are growing and emerging as we speak, and how we create change and active lifestyles is really important. Today, I'll take you through a series of slides that help you understand what we're doing and why we're doing it, and the reflective journey of 5 years of implementing active open space, master plans and design and delivery like this. So this is our beautiful Werribee River, and this is a beautiful project that's occurred over the last 15 years in Wyndham called Wyndham Park. This park is home to many beautiful events, but also is really important to the ecology along the river corridor, and is now centrepiece alongside the Werribee Main Street and also the train line, creating a central green heart to Wyndham. And as you can see, as you peek over the edge of the balustrade, that there's a beautiful green open space down here where we host many events. So I'm going to share with you a video of the journey that we took in 2016 and then how that's informed the way that we plan moving forward.
Wyndham is dynamic, energetic and growing fast. Our population is set to soar from almost 220,000 to 450,000 by 2045.
We know that sport and recreation helps build stronger, healthier, happier and safer communities. And you've told us that sport and active recreation is important to you. 77% of you told us that you and your family frequently participate in activity.
Because we're growing and we want to make sure we cater for the range of different sport and recreation interests in our area, we've developed a strategy to help outline what sports facilities should be provided and where they should be located to get the best outcome for the community.
You've told us that swimming, cycling and basketball are the 3 most popular activities and sports in Wyndham. But many of our residents also enjoy activities like Australian rules football, golf, a gym workout, tennis and yoga.
That having facilities considered close to home, school or work makes it easier to participate.
And that the way you participate changes the older you become, from more structured participation to more informal and social.
Based on the way sport is currently participated in, the city will need a total of 79 soccer pitches, 47 badminton courts, 16 baseball diamonds and 3 athletics tracks, just to name a few. It's exciting.
There are 38 outdoor sporting reserves and 4 more indoor facilities to be built across Wyndham City.
We have a solid strategy to help us plan facilities for the next 5 years, with the growing long-term demands firmly in mind.
Let us know what you think of Wyndham's sporting future.
Wyndham.
In 2016, we completed an independent sample survey that really supported an understanding in why our community does what it does. So now I'll let you understand a little bit about Wyndham and what we've done in the last 5 years to really listen to the community to change the way that we do sport, and we plan and design our infrastructure to support physical literate communities. So this is beautiful Wyndham in Victoria, Australia, and we sit 25 kilometres west of Melbourne. Wyndham is over here in the west of Melbourne and forms one of the largest municipalities in the Melbourne area. So the Active Village Framework. So based on this work in 2016, we started designing our reserves and open spaces to focus on a series of items with that are within community, that are the enablers and the facilities. So how do we do this? So every time we create a master plan, we need to look at these criteria and this framework and understand how they are translated into the design of the facilities. So in terms of the diversity of sport and active recreation choice, how is that translated, and what choices do people have when they're playing sport? And what choices do they have in the reserve to create a walking track or a cycling track or a formal sport like football or soccer or tennis? We also look at the age range. So how are these facilities catering for different ages? And also, some people don't feel confident in participating in sport. So how can we create pathways and opportunities for people to feel familiar with their reserves so that they go there more and they become less worried about or less concerned about what others think of them when they go to those spaces? Also, we are really strongly aware of the importance of ecological sustainability in the way that we design our facilities, and making sure that they remain flexible so that they can translate over time with our communities. So what our communities are today, and if they're young families, how that they translate into older families and communities with youth and teenagers, all the way through to old aging adults. So today, this is one of our first reserves under this model, and this is Mossville Reserve. Today, this site houses a number of different sports. So we've got rugby, cricket, football, netball, dance, and sepak takraw. The sepak takraw is played by our refugee and Burmese communities. I'm just going to move myself across the screen. There we go. And so this sport in Australia doesn't have really good prominence, but our communities really want to play it. So we need to create spaces that allow our communities to play the things they want to play. Alongside these formal sports, we also have some informal things like personal training, walking, the playground, picnic and skate, where people can rock up whenever they like and they can play and engage in this space. We also have a collectible car club, a childcare, a kindergarten, a maternal child health and schools who hire. And it's really important when we have young families in the area that they feel comfortable in these spaces. So having services like maternal child health and childcare and kinder are really great because it brings people into the reserve and they become familiar with it. The site that hasn't worked well is, I'm just going to go backwards. Yeah, so Windora Way Reserve and Alamanda P9 is a co-located school site. So there are a couple of challenges with this site. The land size is too small, but also the school has grown to 250% of its current capacity. So there's 2,500 students at this school. And what's happened is that the open space that they would otherwise have is taken over with portable buildings. So there's been a lot of challenges in the co-location of this site and the way that we've been able to establish a partnership at this school. So these learnings, along with the sports strategy, allowed us to change the way we master plan. So this site is a new site in Point Cook, and we have an active open space in a park, but there's no other co-located schools next to it. So what we needed to understand is how to create community around this site. And what you'll see is there's There's soccer pitches here, all rectangles, and importantly, the rectangles are not only for soccer or football, but they're for lacrosse and other sports as well. We've also got ovals for cricket and AFL, Australian rules football, and also netball and tennis courts to support the way that people want to play the sports. At this site in Truganina and Tarneit, up in the north of Wyndham, we have a co-location with a school, a community centre and kindergarten, and an active open space. And these create the village environments that we're looking for. So they're destinations in their own right. So the school people are going to go to, the community centre people are going to go to with their new families, and the active open space people are going to go to. So it's about how we create these environments so they can all work together and they can all share and lend resources, and also people become familiar with the whole setting. So it becomes a bit of a village and a destination for the whole area. What we've done also is make sure there's a dedicated walking trail around the whole site so that people feel comfortable to be able to walk, and they might be able to walk while their children are playing sport. They might be able to walk while their children have just been dropped off at school, but it creates opportunities for incidental activity and connection. So this is the site as it currently is on the ground. So the schools are being built, the community centre is being built, and the active open space is just about to be under construction. And all of these houses around here are new families and new communities. And 99% of net migration is from overseas. So a lot of the families you see in these houses are from overseas. So this is their first experience of Australia. This is another reserve where there's a little bit different. So we've got a smaller reserve here, which is 4 hectares. And we normally like 8-hectare reserves because they create an opportunity to have a few more different sports and opportunities. But what we have here is we have 2 schools. We have a public school and we have a Catholic education school, but we also have a town centre and a swimming gym, if you can see behind my head. And this site is close to a town centre, and it also creates an opportunity for a bit of a village so that when you bring your whole family here, there might be someone swimming, there might be someone playing baseball or soccer, there might be someone going to an after-school program or a music program in the school, or there might be someone doing shopping. So it's really about creating a space where the whole family can come to and they feel familiar in the environment, it's safe, and it's in walking distance of everybody. The next one I'm going to show you is the reserve at the start, and this is about how we've addressed the connection to nature and connection to place. So I'm just going to press on a video here and show you the opportunity that we've created by working with the landscape, and the bird life you'll hear in this video is quite significant. So here, this site is a nature playground, and this was created by our Vibrant City Centres team alongside our landscape architect. And the river sits just to the right of the screen over here, and this whole area floods when the river when there's been a lot of rainfall. So what we had to do is make sure that this area didn't destroy the environment when it flooded, but also was robust enough to withstand the water flows when it did. So as you can see, there's opportunity here for nature-based play, creative play, and risk-taking. It's also places to sit and connect socially, and it also connects into a broader shared trail system, as you can see in the aerial image here, that connects all the way through to our major sports infrastructure, our major train lines, and our main street down here. And lastly, the football stadium. So this is the project that I'm currently on. And I think in terms of the active village, this is where it's going to translate into a whole precinct and a whole urban area. So through the work of purchasing the land, through the work of working out what people want, and an opportunity to host a national soccer or football team in our community, we've been able to create this opportunity at 1160 Sayers Road. So 1160 Sayers Road will have a 15,000 seat stadium. It will have an indoor arena. It will have a training precinct. It will have residents. It will have commercial areas, and it will have a train station and town centre. And this whole area will create a village environment focused and centred around sport and sporting excellence and physical literacy. So it's importantly in this in this precinct, it's important to have opportunities to connect and have incidental connections through the shared trail systems and familiarise people with these settings and environments. It'll also have the opportunity to have some tertiary education up in this area up here, and also indoor futsal, so some commercial opportunities as well for indoor sports centres. And this site is under construction now and is considered a project of state significance. And this project is based off the principles of the sports strategy around social connection and generational opportunities, and also looking at how we can fund and support partnerships in a different way, which is everything that we're trying to achieve through the sports strategy and through our physical literacy environments, because it's about the whole community, and it's not just about public money, it's also about the opportunity for private investment and private partnerships with public partnerships as well. So by having a national football team within Wyndham, we're able to create a sense of community and a sense of pride, and create opportunities for people to invest in Wyndham in a different way than they otherwise would. So sport in this environment has created a great opportunity for people to build the capability and confidence in their own physical journey and their own physical literacy about how they can be active. And I'll leave you with a short video of what is happening in Wyndham on this site at the moment. Well, this is from August, and how we're creating new communities right on the edge of Wyndham. So at this stage, our journey of building active villages across Wyndham has been a 5-year journey. We're just undertaking a revision of the sports strategy to understand how our community has shifted in what they want to do and how they want to play it. These circles that you see behind me represent a 1 kilometre catchment of the reserves. So the reserves are the little dots, or the darker areas shaded, and the lighter radius is a 1 kilometre catchment. So what we're trying to achieve here is to understand how each of these sites can support people who live within 1 kilometre of them to lead healthy and active lives. So it's not just about having one sport servicing one type of person, it's about having multiple sports in an active village supporting multiple people in one community. And then how we tie all those communities together into a village and a network is just as important as what you respond to within each of those specific individual sites. So if you'd like to contact me, you're more than welcome to. My email is on this slide. And if you've got any questions, please feel free to let me know. Thank you very much for letting me speak, and enjoy your conference.
Tack Sara. Det här var några exempel på hur man internationellt arbetar för fler rörelserika samhällen. Och det verkar vara som att skaran av samhällen växer, som inte bara arbetar med fysisk aktivitet utan med just begreppet rörelserikedom. Och som ju är ett större begrepp, ger andra lösningar och har fler värden. Som dessutom inte ägs av någon utan en angelägenhet för exempelvis alla kommunala förvaltningar, regioner och civilsamhället.
Ja, physical literacy brings everyone to the table, med andra ord, som vi brukar säga. Ja, vi har kommit till slutet på det här digitala passet. Vi tackar för oss och vi tackar för att du tog dig tid. Och passa gärna på att se de andra 4 digitala passen som kommer att finnas i Queo-plattformen. Tack för oss!
Tack, tack! Hej då!